He was part of an attempted sort of palace coup. The coup was mounted from the outside by the House. But what strikes me from the beginning is how impeachment was essentially power-driven. The Democrats had the majority in the House. They voted impeachment. The Republicans had the majority in the Senate. They voted it down. So Vindman was part of the inside operation working with these outsiders to overthrow the president. The plot failed. The plot was defeated. And now Trump wants to clean house. If you want to call it payback, I say it's very necessary payback.
Well, the president has a right to have people that he wants to work in his administration. That's why he's the chief executive officer of the executive branch. I don't know why people can't understand that. Now, Lee, at one point during his public testimony, Vindman sort of bragged about being asked to be defense minister in Washington.
The whole notion is rather comical that I was being asked to consider whether I'd want to be the Minister of Defense. It is pretty funny for a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army, which really is not that senior, to be offered that illustrious a position.
False humility. And remember, Vindman snapped as a sitting member of Congress.
I was concerned by the call. What I heard was inappropriate.
Mr. Vindman, you testified in your deposition that you did not know the whistleblower.
Ranking member, it's Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, please.
Did you have an opportunity to offer any advice to President Zelensky?
Stay out of U.S. domestic policy.
Okay, Lee, the colonel, this is amazing. He was asked to be the defense minister of another country, which indicates what? The other country thinks he's a good advocate for their interests, correct?
This is not a common thing that happens all the time in Washington. For all that we say about the swamp and for everyone protecting strange interest and their own pet interest in Washington, nonetheless, that's not a common thing.
Yeah. So and he was very like a lieutenant colonel. I mean, of course,
right.
It's fine. He earned that title. He deserves that title. But he doesn't deserve a life tenured position in the White House just because he went and testified. I mean, they want to say, oh, it's witness retaliation under the federal statute. Okay, so you're going to have to prove Trump intended to interfere with someone's employment. He intended to do that as chief executive officer of the executive branch. Good luck proving that.
It's not a human right to work in the White House or to work in any administration. Obviously, it's up to the president to make the call, and I think it was an excellent decision, part of an excellent week for the president to now, this is not retaliation. It's the sound foundation of a national security strategy to make sure he has the people on board to implement this strategy. He's had many fantastic achievements the last 3 years, whether it's getting out of the Iran deal, recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital, the trade deals, and now he should set the foundations for more foreign policy accomplishments, whether it's the rest of this term or his
But
second.
you got to have people on staff who are with you on policy. As Robert O'Brien, who's fantastic at the National Security Advisor. He's fabulous. He has good people in place now. But he had some doozies who were burrowed in there, and some who were appointees who were, frankly, never Trumpers, and I don't know why they were over there. But I want you to remember this moment from Vindman's former boss at the NSC.
You said specifically that you had concerns with Colonel Vindman exercising, quote, appropriate judgment as to whom he said what. Is that right?
It is, sir.
You testified that Colonel Vindman did not always adhere to the chain of command. Is that right?
I believe so, yes, sir.
And you testified that colleagues expressed concerns to you about Colonel Vindman leaking information. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Dinesh, so he could have been removed, and frankly should have been removed, were it not for his testimony. The timing wouldn't have looked very good, would it have? For cause, because he went right to Zelensky. He, as a junior staffer on the NSC, went to a foreign president and started waving him off on what he thought was inappropriate conduct.
Vindman was actually telling the Ukrainians that they could ignore what Trump was saying and indicating on the grounds that Trump was somehow contradicting U.S. policy. Think about this. According to Vindman, there's this thing called U.S. policy that he, Vindman, is the spokesman for, and Trump is sort of out of sync. He's marching out of tune. In reality, Trump makes policy. Vindman should be advising Trump. If Vindman disagrees with Trump, he should tell Trump. So this is a rogue officer, and no wonder he became such a useful idiot for impeachment, because after all, this was a guy that he always thought that he knew better than the president.
Well, they're concerned tonight, Lee, because his poor brother, his twin brother, Why did he get dragged into this? Well, apparently they commute together, and they're kind of two peas in a pod, and they're on the same
carpool.
anti-Trump team.
Right. Look, one of the important things that I think that we have to understand is this is a continuation of the operation that's been going on for 3 years. I think as good as a week as this has been for the president, we need to understand this will happen again. We know who will be involved. It will be rogue intelligence officials. It will be the press, and it will most likely be Adam Schiff. The way to defend against this is for the Republican Senate to run an offense here. Let's have investigations. Find out how
Gotta just stay on the offensive, or they're gonna bury you. A friend of mine today who I was meeting with said another guy that he knows in D.C. is a good friend of his, works for the CIA, trashes Trump all the time. Dinesh trashes Trump all the time. A guy who is so senior, he was stationed overseas for 3 years and at a very high level. He can't stand the president, makes fun of him every day. So these are the types of people who are working in the government. Two great guests on a fantastic week and Friday night. Gentlemen, thank both of you. And